Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament, looking at the New Testament church. And today we are starting the book of Jude. Today we're just going to be in Jude 1, verses 1 through 2, which is just the greetings from Jude. And just to give you a little bit of background about Jude, real quick, before we dive into it too much, it's the shortest book that we have in the New Testament. I think it might be the shortest book in the Bible. It's just one chapter, and it's 25 verses, I believe, if we'll look at it. So I think we'll hit it up in about 3 or 4 days, and then we'll move on to First John. So we'll look at for Jude 1, verses 1 and 2 real quick. It says, "This letter is from Jude, a slave of Jesus Christ and a brother of James. I'm writing to all who have been called by God the Father, who loves you and keeps you safe in the care of Jesus Christ." And so, may God give you more and more mercy, peace, and love. And so, just to kind of give you a brief little introduction to Jude and what we're going to look at here. Like I said, it's a very brief letter, and it has a single focus, and that focus is to warn the believers against succumbing to false teaching, which is a lot of these, are about. And so Jude identifies himself as the brother of James, right? This James is almost certainly going to be the Lord's brother, right? Jesus' brother, who became a leader of the Jerusalem church. We saw that in Acts 15. Anyone, if you've been following along with us the whole time in this, and he wrote the letter of James. And so Jude was therefore also a brother of Jesus. And so this is why this letter is included in the Gospels. I'm sorry, in the New Testament. Jude and the other brothers of Jesus, right? They didn't follow Jesus during his earthly mission. When he first started out, he didn't follow him. But evidently, we see they became believers after the resurrection and traveled to spread the message about the resurrection of the Lord. And so they did all these things. And so we know so little about Jude that we can't pin down the date or destination of the letter. We don't know who exactly it was written to. We know it was written to Christians, or the date. More than likely, it was probably written around AD 45. Because that would have allowed enough time for the false teachings that described here to develop. But it was probably written before AD 90, when even a younger brother of Jesus would have been old. And so, somewhere in that time frame. And so the close relationship, also we see, a close relationship between Second Peter and Jude, and that suggests that the two might have been written around about the same time. And so we see that as well. So it's a typical opening to a letter. Jude identifies himself and his audience, and prays for them, and he recognizes himself as a slave of Jesus Christ, and Jude acknowledged that he is under Jesus' lordship in every area of life, and this title carried honor in that day. It carried honor. The great Old Testament leaders of God's people were also called slaves or servants of God, and so to be a servant of Christ, to be a slave of Christ, was held with great honor. And so we'll continue through this. We're going, like I said, we're going to be in here for 3 or 4 days. Tomorrow we'll look at Jude talking about the dangers of false teachings, dive into that a little bit more, and go into it. So again, like I always say, I hope that you've learned something from this. I hope it gives you a little bit of information that you didn't know beforehand. As always, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And as always, I appreciate everyone who takes time to watch these, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day.